Hello everybody, Liz here and welcome to my channel. So this is going to be my Iron Gold spoilery review slash discussion. So again, it's going to be full of spoilers, so if you have not read it, I suggest you go check out my spoiler-free review that I will try to link in the description down below. So like I said, this is spoilery. I'm going to talk about everything that I loved, and all of my theories and all of my questions and all of that good stuff for this book. So that is your spoiler warning. You should go read it and come back and then we can talk about this amazing book. Whew. So Iron Gold. Let's just say that this book was a roller coaster of a ride from beginning to end. I literally started feeling excited the moment I met the dramatic persona, like all of the characters, because they mentioned that Severo and Victor had a daughter. And that was honestly the thing I was most excited about. And it was just like, it was so amazing. Although I am gonna ask here why Clown and Pebble don't have names and are simply howlers. Like, sir, are we ever going to find out Pebble and Clown's real gold names? I want answers to that. Okay, so obviously we start off 10 years in the future. The Society, now Republic, have been at war this entire time with the Ash Lords, and shit has gotten spicy. So actually I'm going to start off with overall. I obviously gave this book a 5 out of 5. It was absolutely everything that I could have wanted and more. It definitely gave me more than I had thought I wanted. We got a new look at all of kind of the cities and the low colors and how everybody has kind of dealt with everything that's been going on, not just Darrow. So we got to see what people think of Darrow and what people think of the gold, although we kind of knew that already, and like of the grays and the reds and everything that everybody's been struggling with. So that was definitely something interesting, something that I hadn't even really thought about, if I'm being completely honest. So first I'm going to start off with Lyria, who is the brand new character, one we haven't even heard of before, and she is our lowly red. She is newly liberated from the mines. She has had a shitty times. So she's been liberated for 2 years. She's been living in like these camps for that time, and like right off the bat she hates the fact that she's been liberated, which makes sense. Like, getting relocated must suck, and that was definitely something that maybe that she hadn't planned and her family hadn't planned, and it was just not great. And so literally right off the bat, the Red Hand, which is reds that are terrorizing other reds because of the whole Gamma having special privileges, and I guess that's extended to almost every single mine, and that's some fucked up shit. But it makes sense because it's like they have to find a villain that they can get to quickly, and obviously reds are going to be that for the Red Right Hand. The Red Right Hand is the Peaky Blinders list for the Red Hand. So right off the bat we have her entire family except one of her nephews get killed. Talk about a horrible way to start off your new life. And in doing so, during this attack, she meets Cavix Telemachus, and her journey with becoming involved with the inner circle starts. At first I was kind of confused how that was going to happen. I was like, how are we going to get all of these characters together, especially her and Ephraim, who are completely different, wouldn't run in the same circles, are completely different ages. I was extremely confused on how that was going to work. So it was very interesting how they came together, but I'll get to Ephraim in a second. So she meets Cavix. She still hates the gold except for Cavix, and she is everything that could have she could have become Harmony, but obviously she is a doer. She is not complacent in the aspect that she won't just let things happen to her. She'll do them, which is really nice, although her storyline revolves around other people doing things to her and her reacting to them, and even for that she's quite reactive. So you have Harmony, which I'm assuming it's Harmony. I'm gonna go with Harmony being the leader of the Red Hand because we see a description of a woman with half of her face burned off, and what does that sound like? It sounds like Harmony. Okay, and then we have, obviously now I have to introduce Ephraim, who is Trigg's husband slash fiance, and his story arc was probably the saddest in the aspect of how self-aware he was of being sad. Like, not only is he suffering from the death of his loved one by gold hands for being involved in the rising, but he's also constantly replaying the murder and the torture of his men when he was working for the rising. So sometimes it was really frustrating how like angsty he was, but it was all the PTSD and all of his drugging himself to try not to feel anything, because like he tortures himself by rewatching Trigg's video, and like that is some fucked up shit. So I can definitely understand why he is so against golds and what they represent, because it's like he talks about his legion or his squad being like skinned alive, and then the person who skinned them alive was pardoned. Like, I would be pissed off too. Although I will say he is such an asshole to Volga, who is one of my new favorite side characters. Volga the Obsidian is a sweetheart. I just want her to live happily ever after and open her zoo for exotic carved animals. Like, she is so precious, and it was so cute because she, at the end, she was like, I loved you. Basically, like, I loved you even though you couldn't love me, and it was just so sad. Okay, anyways, back to what I was talking about. So it was very interesting when both Ephraim and Lyria's like plots and storylines like converged together. That was definitely very interesting. Obviously, you know, it had to have some kind of extremely negative impact. So we have them kidnapping Pax and Electra, who Electra is gonna be a character that I know I'm gonna love. Like, I already love her because of who her parents are, but she's already like this little, like, super smart, conniving person who she derives from both of her parents. Like, it was so funny because she was glaring at Ephraim as she was getting kidnapped, even though she was paralyzed, and she was like 2 seconds away from stabbing him with the razor, like when he was trying to rescue her. Like, I already love her. Pax, on the other hand, is very much like his mother, I think, because he's a lot more calculating. I feel like Darrow would have been more proactive. He's more of like an observer like his mom, and he's very angsty 10-year-old. I was super cute that he is best friends with an Obsidian. That was super adorable. Like, that makes sense that that is it for both his namesake and because of who his father is. But I do feel like Pax is being unfair to Darrow in a lot of things. Like, obviously Electra understands what's going on, and she's okay, or at least she accepts what's going on with her dad being who her dad is, and still has a good relationship with him, maybe because of the way Severo like is with her. But I feel like him and Darrow could have done something too, because like their relationship's obviously really good. Like, why can't Pax and Darrow's be? But I guess we'll find out later what happens with that. Okay, so we have go back to Ephraim befriending Lyria, and then like everything that was said, because she hates gold, she hates the sovereign, she hates all of that, and it's totally understandable. Like, I understand, girl, why you're feeling this way, but at the same time I'm like, and I think it's because we've seen everything through Darrow's perspective, so now we're seeing the repercussions of everything he's done. Like, Darrow is a savior to so many people, but a savior that kind of abandoned people, which isn't his fault because he's still doing this whole war thing. So that moves me on, I guess, to Darrow. The first 4 chapters of this were kind of cute up until, like, you know, he was like summoned the Howlers and that whole situation happened. So we get to see him in a sort of domestic kind of field when his wife, him and Mustang are obviously in, for the most part, like a good relationship. His relationship with Pax is quite strained, but his relationship with the Howlers is still solid at the beginning of the story, as opposed to the end where they're starting to doubt Darrow. So I'll get to that in a second too, because I have quite a few thoughts on that. So we have the revelation that Victra is pregnant. Severo has nothing but daughters, which is absolutely hilarious and just perfect. And the fact that their sex life is so wild, I'm like, I wouldn't want it any other way. Like, it just makes perfect sense for who they are as characters. So we have Severo and Darrow still being, you know, like these legionnaires, these warmongers to all these people. They just liberated Mercury. Things kind of went downhill because he disrespected the Senate, which honestly, Dancer was about to catch these hands. I was so pissed at him. I was like, I cannot believe you did that. I understand why he was mad. I really do. Like, Darrow essentially killed all of these sons of Ares, but it's like, bro, I wanted to punch Dancer in the face. Like, you were supposed to have his back. Like, you were supposed to be the one person that Darrow could have counted on this entire fucking time, and you fucked that up. Anyways, so then we go, and Darrow takes some of his Howlers because we know Sephi is not about that. And I understand why Sephi and the Obsidians no longer want to be part of this war, because it's mentioned quite a few times that Obsidian are singled out almost as much or more than the Reds because they're a lot more obvious, they're bigger, they were bred for war, so they're supposed to be a lot more dangerous. So in the Reign, they were targeted a lot more. So more Obsidians died than any other color during this war. And Sephi, being aware of this, was like, I am not about to send more of my people to die. So I understand why Sephi did it, and I am okay with it. I just wish that she would have sent some Obsidians with them, but I understand why it didn't. Obviously, like, even with Volga, like, she couldn't even go into certain places because it's like no crows and no reds, no rusters. So it's like there's a lot of prejudice between these two colors because A, the reds were literally slaves, and Obsidian were like glorified pets. So I definitely understand why Sephi was like, no, as much as I want to end this war, you're not gonna do it. We're not gonna do it this way. So we go, and fucking Darrow pulls Apollonius, Vali, Wrath, fucking Deepgrave, which is like their version of like maximum security or like maximum prison. And like, that was probably one of the stupidest things Darrow has ever done, aside from letting the Jackal live in the first book. And it's like, he left him alive at the end too, and I was like, Darrow, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this man is like the ultimate war criminal, and you're just gonna let him stay on Venus. I was like, okay. But we did get to meet Tunglas, which is the Obsidian, which my theory is he is Ragnar's father. Don't tell me why every older Obsidian is just gonna be Ragnar's dad until Pierce proves who he actually is, and it makes sense because he doesn't have a tongue, so he can't actually tell us that he is his dad, and they haven't checked. So that's one of my theories. He is going to be Ragnar's dad. So then Sephi's gonna meet them, and it's just gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's fine. So then we have them falling in the Iron Rain in Venus, and then meeting the Ash Lord. And the Ash Lord is like this emancipated, I hope that I use that word correctly, like this like withered old raisin of a man. He has been for 3 years. So we find out that the person who's been leading these wars and these attacks against the Republic was Atlantia O'Grimus, which is his daughter. Which makes sense because like the moment that they mentioned that he hadn't taken an audience in 3 years, I was like, he's dead. That was my original thought. I was like, he's dead. But then he was really sick, and I was like, oh, all of this was for nothing. Like you killed a few of your howlers for nothing. And we find out that it was Apollonius that like fucking did that shit, and I was like, oh. And then he is the one that commissioned Pax and Electra to get fucking kidnapped, which takes us to the Syndicate and like the mess that Ephraim got himself in by fucking abducting these kids. The Duke of Hands was a pink and had a bunch of Obsidians around him. My theory for that is that the queen of the Syndicate is a pink, or someone pretending to be a pink, because like pinks are supposed to be the most delicate ones out of all of them. So it was like, I feel like it's a pink, especially because it's called the Queen's Kiss, which is something similar to the Cupid's Kiss. So that's my theory, that she's a pink. And or someone said Lilith. I don't know about that. I feel like Lilith is, yeah, she didn't really die, did she? So maybe it's like Lilith pretending to be a pink, because she's done that already. And then we have obviously like the rift that happens between Sevro and Darrow, because Sevro really has grown into a father since he's had 3 daughters. And to Sevro, we know family is everything. Loyalty is everything. And he even says, like, I want to be a father to my kids, unlike your dad and my dad, who gave up everything for this cause, and then they died. They both had, like, we know Fitchner and Sevro had a shitty relationship. It was like a weird relationship. Obviously, they weren't as familiar as they could have been. We know Sevro loves his daughters with all of his soul. He loves Victor with all of his soul. And he does love Darrow, but I feel like priorities shift, and they're getting older, and it makes sense for Sevro and him to split. Then we come to the whole Darrow, and at the very end of Darrow's, whole shebang, he decides that he's not gonna go back. And you're just left there like, you dumbass, it's your kid. Obviously Sevro has his priorities straight, and people were really upset, and I was too, but I keep thinking about the fact that like everything that's happened since Golden Sun, every single person that has died, whether Darrow knows him or not, whether they died in the Iron Rain, whether they died in the Triumph, and all of the battles that happened in Morning Star, and every single battle that's happened since then, all of these deaths have fallen on Darrow's shoulders. And Darrow feels, I think, in a way so responsible that he thinks that he has to be the one that ends all of this. So I feel like it's a survivor's guilt, and just guilt and this obsessive need to set things right, because he's the one who set everything wrong, or he broke things and he couldn't fix them. Obviously he knows that Mustang that Virginia is going to be able to piece together what's going on with the Senate. Like, he has so much trust in her that he knows that she can take care of everything. He's obviously entrusting Severo enough to take care of his son, and he's hopeful that his son will maybe understand. Like, he has been at war for most of his life. For like 16 years he has been at war, and he's like 33, so it's like half of his life, half of his adult life. Like, war is all he knows, and I feel like he is doing this as a way to punish himself, to kind of maybe find absolution in finally doing something for his family. Like, I feel like he felt that at the end of Morning Star, but he's forgotten it, and I'm hoping that that is something that evolves inside of him later on, because he obviously suffers from a lot of PTSD. Like, he still can't be in small places because of what the Jackal did to him. Like, 9 months in like complete and utter darkness does something to a man. So I feel like he's still dealing with those repercussions, and then every single war that he's been in, like his own friends calling him like a warlord, a warmongrel, and then we have Severo and some of the Howlers telling him that he's starting to believe his own myth, and like, even at the end he understands. He's like, I know that I'm not invincible, and all of this, you know, he knows he's mortal. So I feel like in a way it's of him, like, it's like penance for him, and for him to try to redeem himself after everything that he's done. So he did some stupid ass shit, like fucking release Pollyannas from Deep Grave, and then, you know, not go back to his family and all of that stuff. But I feel like he's doing it to redeem himself, even though it seems like a stupid ass decision, because Mustang is gonna be left alone, and so is Pax, and so is all the like Howlers. Like, Severo left him, and that just hurts. And then that leads me to like a ridiculous, like, not even to Pax and Elektra. So at the end of Ephraim's storyline, they're coming back, but the fucking queen stops them. So their ship goes down. We don't know what's happening to them. We don't know if Ephraim is gonna survive. We don't know if they're gonna survive. So that's completely up in the air, which is extremely fucking nerve-wracking, because it's like, we have to wait so long. And then we have the end of Illyria, where it's like, hello traitor, House Barca sends their regards. I'm sitting here like, fucking Victra. Like, obviously it has to be Victra. There's no way Severo has been able to get that going quick enough. But it's just like, oh, it was so like, I'm hoping that she plays a bigger part, Lyria plays a bigger part, and I hope that Victra forgives her. But I don't feel like Victor is a forgiving type, so I feel like some torture might happen, and then, yeah. I did like Mustang a lot in this. She had one of my favorite quotes. She had one of my favorite, she's just so smart. Like, she knew everything that was going on, and I appreciated that she was not gonna let people torture Lyria, because man, Theodora has gotten rough. She was gonna put the oracles on her. I was like, oh my goodness. I also like meeting more of the Telemanuses and realizing that most of Darrow's troops, most of his important peoples are women, which is really cool. Like, all of the Telemanus, like, women are on his side. Like, it's just Daxo and Kavix, and everybody else is a woman for them. Like, Holiday still being so loyal to the Sovereign and to the Republic. Hopefully Ephraim doesn't die. But then we have, obviously, Lysander. I haven't touched on Lysander. So he was our gateway into the Rim, and what happened in the Rim, and what's going on in the Rim, and it's been 10 years too, obviously. And Cassius is a broken man. I didn't realize how in love with Victoria, with Virginia he seemed to be, but he was pretty in love with Virginia. And it is very interesting to see that Lysander is like paralleling Darrow's storyline in a way. Like, he is this righteous son of gold who thinks that his people deserve to be saved from the Rising and from the Republic, and he obviously knows why things were done. He's extremely intelligent, and he still fucks up. Obviously, like that whole beginning scene where he captures Seraphina and then they get taken to the Rim because he was more loyal to gold than he was to any other color. And I feel like it's not going to change because he has so much of his grandmother in him. Honestly, just the entirety of the Rim storyline was amazing in a way that I wasn't expecting it. And we get to meet, you know, Romulus, Roth again, and his death was like, oh, I felt it. Like, he almost made it. He almost made the 80 steps. And then his whole coup with his family and, like, his wife. And, like, I want to know that story. And all of that stuff was really interesting. And, like, the way that they thought themselves so righteous, but they're really not. They're really just kind of, like, wearing the mask, or the dancing mask, like Lysander says. And the war. They just really want to war with the Republic, which is the last thing that Republic needs. So we have Lysander kind of bouncing back and forth for what Cassius has taught him and what he knows or what he thinks he knows. And he thinks this is righteous future prince and like he's a fucking, you know, loon. So he's very much like paralleling Darrow's storyline. And I wanted to punch the kid in the face a few times. He definitely made some Darrow-esque fuck-ups. So we find out that the family knew who they both were. And then Cassius gets, you know, fucking blood feud again. And he survives a lot. He's like, my name is Cassius O. Bologna, son of Tiberian, Julia, and my honor remains. I'm pretty sure, did not quote that correctly. And like he was so ready to die and he was so for the cause and for what gold was supposed to be. And like I didn't like Cassius and I liked him in this book. At least I liked him from what we saw of Lysander's perspective. And I was like, curse you, Pierce, for making me feel bad for fucking Cassius. And then we find out that he died. I don't think he's dead. There's no way that Pierce would give him an off-page death. Like you gave Roke, Alphobia, the fucking space Judas, an on-screen, on-page death. Cassius deserves at least that, considering he did help kill Aja and fucking Octavia and them take over the Republic, and then he helped Lysander for like 10 years. So I expect him to come back. I really liked Diomedes. Ugh. He was very honorable, and he's in love with that pink. I'm calling it. He's in love with that pink, and he's gonna go, and his honor is gonna make him choose the Republic, because he's gonna realize that gold is corrupt and that the rule of gold is over. I know I'm over speculating, but I feel like he might be the turning point. I do feel like Lysander and Darrow are going to battle it out. Someone has said that they think Darrow's gonna die. I hope not, but if he does, I want him to kill Lysander first. If he does fight against Lysander, and then fall, and then die a legend, but I don't want him to die. My phone is vibrating, I'm sorry. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And I don't know, like I really enjoyed the fact that the Ra were based off like Japanese Earth history or Earth strain, and then they had like a South African strain come in, and that their world is much different than the Rim was, and that makes sense because they're farther away from all of that craziness that the core was, when like just the politics were so interesting in the Rim, and the way that everything works and the way that everything is a little bit gruddier and grittier and all that stuff. Absolutely amazing. For a second too, I thought that one Obsidian was Ragnar's dad. That's just because I just want to know who the fuck Ragnar's dad is. But I did like Lysander. I like Lysander a lot more than I thought I was gonna like him. In the aspect of like I liked his storyline. I didn't like his inner thoughts because he's so self-righteous, but he is haunted by Darrow. I think Pierre, which I'll link her video down below too for her spoilery review of Iron Gold. She talks about how she thinks that Severo is the one that haunts his dreams, but I think that it's Darrow. I think it's Darrow because Darrow represents everything that he lost. Like he killed Aja, he killed everybody that he loves, and he like exiled him because like Severo was the one that let him live. But I feel like he's very much haunted by all that stuff. I feel like he's gonna be very much haunted by Cassius's death. I'm hoping that he thinks back onto what Cassius says. Maybe it'll be too late by then, but I hope he does. So that, but yeah, I don't think so. I think it's gonna be like all out war, and a lot more people are gonna die. So here goes, obviously, like my theories, like the Syndicate Queen being a pink, or maybe Lilith. I want Alexander of Argos and Roanna of Lycos to be together. There is way too much sexual tension for that not to be a thing. I want Lysander and Seraphina to get together, even though I shouldn't want that, but I do. I want Victra to not kill or like Lyria, and I want Severo and them to come back and help find their children. I feel like Severo's gonna fucking go mad because he said himself that Electra is his favorite, and let's be honest, she probably is because she's just the first child of him and Victra, and obviously Victra's hella fucking pregnant. Can we just talk about the fact that she had maternity armor? Like, she was like flying in the air in fucking grab boots and armor. Like, whole new level of badass. Like, I want the Obsidian to not side against Mustang. They probably are. I want her to keep her power because Mustang is super intelligent and like she figured out the plot with fucking Darrow and all that's happening. Okay, so we know that Atlantia is heading towards Loon. My question now is, now that the Ash Lord is dead, and then Severo and Pebble, I believe, and Clown are on the way back to Loon. Where is Darrow? Is Darrow staying in Venus? Maybe that's what I got. I'm listening to it again, so I need to do that. But yeah, that's all I can think of right now. My camera's about to overheat. So yeah, that is all I can think of right now. I'll probably think of much more in my second reread. But let me know, what was your favorite parts? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you agree with my theories? Do you want the stuff that I want? But yeah, so let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I hope you have a good morning, afternoon, night, whenever you happen to be watching this, and happy readings. Adios! Ow!